News Rants, a podcast about news stories that could get a bit ranty. All views expressed on News Rants are those of myself and any contributors. Hello and welcome to a bumper edition of News Rants, the podcast where I take a news story and rant about it. But because this is a bumper edition, there's a few news stories to cover, because I've actually been in the sunny seaside resort of Blackpool. Well, usually it's rainy when I go there, but it was sunny when I went, so, and a lot of news has happened and I've had to trawl through it. So, obviously, there's always the obvious news, and, but, we've had a few other things as well. So, I was going to start with the local elections, because, that's really annoyed me. I did actually go out to vote, which you'll find out in a wee while. But first, the Tories had Partygate. Labour have Beergate, or Beer and Currygate. So, it goes like this. During the whole of Partygate, Keir Starmer basically went out of his way to say he didn't break any rules and there was no parties or anything. It actually came out in the press that he did break some rules. He did have an organised gathering. The Daily Mail even revealed that it was an organised gathering. Durham Constabulary, who I consider to be the most useless police force on the planet, because when I tried to get their assistance by ringing 101, they didn't pick up the phone. I was assaulted by a security guard. And that security guard was allowed to get away with it scot-free. Or near enough, I did contact the SIA. But enough of that. Back to the news topic in question. So, Beergate. Keir Starmer had curry and beer with some other people in Durham. Hence why Durham Constabulary are now investigating. They obviously think some offence has been committed because they are investigating. Keir Starmer is adamant that he has done nothing wrong. A lot of the Labour front bench, and maybe a couple of backbenchers in that party, are adamant that he's done nothing wrong. And even the incompetent Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is siding with Keir Starmer. Why would he do that? I don't know. So, it basically means that the Labour Party are bloody well hypocrites for, calling for Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak to resign for being fined for Partygate. So, will Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner and anyone else involved with this resign? I don't know. If they don't, that makes them very hypocritical. They're under investigation, so I think that maybe they should do the right thing and resign. They kept calling for the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer to resign. Maybe they should resign because they're under police investigation. But I don't think Keir Starmer's going to put his money where his mouth is. Do you? No, didn't think so. They're all liars and hypocrites at the end of the day, politicians. We need every one of those front benches on both sides of the house basically taking away, and we need reform. We need some proper politicians in there who are not going to lie to the people, put taxes up, and cause a cost of living crisis that Labour don't even have an answer to, apart from a windfall tax on the fuel giants, which, that ain't going to work, is it? They're still going to charge an arm and a leg. Best way, cut taxes. That's what the government should be doing. But, this whole Partygate and Beergate thing, it's getting people quite annoyed, which is why people aren't voting Conservative or Labour for the most part. Although, you'll find out in a little while, the other disgusting party that has decided to emerge because of this. There wasn't much representation from Reform UK, which I was a little disappointed about, but there was an independent candidate. We'll come to that in a while. And I don't think any of this would have happened if Reform UK were in office. So there you go. Anyway, it's not only Beergate that's come off the Labour front benches that's caused a stir. Angela Rayner, the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, obviously, it has been said in the newspapers that she was doing a Sharon Stone. We'll say no more. You probably know the reference. If you don't, then you'll have to look that one up. To try and distract the Prime Minister. I'm not going to repeat some of the phrases used in other publications and podcasts and things because, it's not really suitable for this podcast. Then Angela Rayner goes and cries about misogyny in Westminster. Despite the fact that she made the story of herself on the smoking terrace of the House of Commons, amongst other MPs from various different parties. You couldn't make it up. It's just ridiculous. So that's the other thing from that. So, may I make a point, Angela? You're working class and ginger, which I am as well. Why don't you side with the working class people, like you're supposed to do, and side with gingers? Because you know how much stick we get sometimes, especially in our childhoods. How about that? Just do something sensible instead of whining about misogyny. If there's a misogynistic culture within Westminster, instead of whinging about it, why don't you complain to the people who should listen about this? I'm sure there's people you can go to, Angela. Be sensible. Don't be ridiculous. Like you were when you called the Tories scum. I mean, I didn't approve of that either. You're in public office. You should know better. Right, I'm going to have to stop there because I don't really want to continuously rant about Angela Rayner, who I don't particularly like, despite the fact she's a fellow ginger. Anyway, so we now move on to the next topic. The local elections. The local elections where councillors were voted to various councils, including North Yorkshire. So, Labour managed to get a few within London, including Westminster, which is where Downing Street and the House of Commons, the House of Lords and the rest of them are. However, because neither party did as well as they could have done, one party reared its ugly head. That would be the Green Party. The Green Party is left-wing, has green ideologies, the sort that insulate Britain, Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil go on about, and obviously it all ends up back to one woman, Greta Thunberg, the Swedish truant. Yep, so it all ends up back to her. They all basically worship her and kiss her ass. Slightly strong language there, but not strong enough to warrant me putting explicit onto the podcast. So, we've got some Greens in North Yorkshire and the City of York, which is a very sad state of affairs. There are 3 on City of York Council and 5 on the future North Yorkshire Council and NYCC as it stands right now. NYCC being North Yorkshire County Council, if you haven't worked that one out. So I'm going to name and shame these ones because they need naming and shaming because I don't like any of them. So we've got Rosie Baker, Denise Craghill, Andy Dagon, Andy Brown, David Noland, Kevin Foster, Will Forbes, and Neil Robinson. You've all been named and you've all been shamed as members of the Green Party. You are all hated by lots of people. The only reason any of you lot got the positions you got is because of the very low voter turnout at these council elections. And that is just unacceptable. Because I actually had a look at how many votes each candidate got for the Colburn and Hipswell ward, which is held by Kevin Foster. And Kevin Foster got only about 500 odd. The Tory candidate wasn't that far behind him, because this is a strong Tory area. And the Independent, a man called Paul Cullen, who seems like a very nice man and deserved the vote, he only got 300 odd, of which one of those votes was mine. Because I actually went out to vote, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite doing this, and I wanted that man to get my vote and know that, people were voting for him. So, there's Greens in West and South Yorkshire as well, but I'm not going to name and shame them today unless they all rear their ugly heads again. So, the Green Party, nobody likes you, and I'm hoping that no one ends up in the House of Commons at the next general election from the Green Party, because what is that going to mean? Let's see. There's a 25% levy on all energy bills for green stuff. That's part of Boris Johnson's pipe dream. There is chance of council tax going up to cover this green rubbish for these councillors being in the councils. There's a chance that everything else goes up even further and even worse than what it is. I want taxes to go down. I want bills to go down. I stand for the working people. I don't stand for green nonsense perpetrated by a Swedish truant. I know the Green Party was going long before Greta Thunberg even raised her head, but to be honest, she's kind of the epitome of green. And I absolutely despise the whole green agenda. I despise the Green Party. I despise the terrorist organisations of Just Stop Oil, Extinction Rebellion and Insulate Britain. And even though she does actually have something in common with me, which I'm not going to discuss, I despise Greta Thunberg. So, and I'm allowed to despise this green rubbish because it's the reason why I'm paying more for petrol, paying more possibly for electricity and gas, which I'll find out in February how much more I'll be paying, because my direct debit has actually gone up. And, I'm allowed to hate and despise people. So, it's just nonsense. It's green nonsense. And that's why I was hoping there would be no green candidates. 5 in North Yorkshire Council. Not good. Not good. I don't know how well the Greens actually did overall, how many councillors they actually fielded, but I can actually find that out. It will not take me long to find that out. Right. Let's find out. Can't actually. So, in Wales, the Greens did pretty badly. So I'm trying to find some information regarding the rest of the country. But it looks like it's all down to done at a per government level. So, per local council level, that's not helpful. Unfortunately, if I want to get that information, I have to go to the left-wing woke newspaper that I wouldn't even, I'm not going to go there. The Guardian and the Biased Broadcasting Corporation. I don't want to go anywhere. Here we go. Wikipedia. Let's have a look, see. They haven't filled it in. It hasn't been filled in. Oh, lovely. So, the fact that the Green Party is getting involved in local council politics is disgusting. Well, you can tell that I'm trying to find the information. I can't find the information. But at the end of the day, I don't want the Green Party in any kind of political office, whether that be local council or government. They've only got one seat in the House of Commons. That's it. And that's how it shall stay. They've got quite a few in Scotland, the Scottish Green Party. they've got some kind of pact going on with the SNP. It's ridiculous. No wonder I don't want to go to Scotland right now. So, you know. And that's my rant on the local council elections. Yay. So I've named and shamed all of the Green councillors for North Yorkshire and the City of York, which they deserved. And, you know. And I even forewarned one of them on Twitter, on the News Rants account. So, you know, he knew it was coming. Okay, so now something else to rant about on this bumper edition of News Rants. So, GB News presenter and political genius, we shall say, Nigel Farage, went out onto the English Channel probably about a week or two ago. Actually, yeah, it's not even a week ago when he went out. And he filmed and witnessed 3 of these so-called asylum seekers, they're not, they're illegal immigrants, fact, throw their phones out of the dinghy and into the sea. Now, it stands to reason that no truly person that's an asylum seeker, no person that's truly an asylum seeker, to get the words in the right order, would do that. And all the lefty nutjobs, as per usual, jumped on Nigel Farage and basically accused him of making the whole thing up. You can't make that up. It was on film, and it went out on GB News. I wonder how many Ofcom complaints that got from the left. Probably quite a lot. Because we know what the left are like. They hate GB News with an unbridled passion, because they don't seem to understand it's a channel for all. And it covers every side of the story. Benjamin Butterworth's on there sometimes, and he's a lefty. He's on Talk TV as well, sometimes, and he's a lefty. So it covers all sides of the argument. It doesn't just cover one side, like the BBC and ITV and Channel 4 and Channel 5. There you go. So, yeah, they all jumped up and down on this and basically made out that Nigel Farage was making it up. But he wasn't. He filmed it. He saw it going on with his own eyes. And he put it out on GB News. So, I don't believe for 1 minute that it was made up. So, you know, before you say anything about Nigel Farage making stuff up, he actually tweeted it himself that people said that he made the story up. Yeah. So, you know, before you lefties decide to accuse Nigel Farage of making something up, why don't you check out the facts first and see the footage for yourself? Nigel Farage wouldn't make something up, especially if he was there with a camera crew to film it. And that's tantamount to slander. He could sue you for that, you know. Bloody lefties. Thinking they know best and they're all high and mighty. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the Rwanda plan. Now, apparently that was supposed to be delayed, which has kind of annoyed me, because the illegals are still coming, as alluded to in the previous bit. Yeah, no. But then I hear on the grapevine that it's going to happen within days. We shall see, shall we? Because they've said it was delayed. If the government fail on the Rwanda plan, it won't go down very well with us. So, you know, come on, government. You need you to get on with it. Otherwise, I will be ranting about it. And you don't want that, do you? No. I don't think you do. So, I think I've covered most of what I want to cover here on the latest bumper edition of News Rants. It's a bit of a bumper edition because obviously I've been away for a while, not been able to pick many news stories. So, I get my news from reliable sources such as Talk TV and GB News. I mean, the lefties don't consider these to be, well, reliable, but I do. Because they don't gloss over everything like the BBC. So, Anyway. I'm Paul. You've been listening or watching the latest News Rants. This is the bumper edition that I've been planning to do since I got back from Blackpool, but obviously I've had other projects on as well because I do all sorts of other things as well apart from rant about the news. I do other things as well. I have other projects and I also have a job. I am a member of the working classes, so I've got to have a job. Haven't I? So, I don't just rant about the news. I do have other projects. You could buy me a coffee if you want on the Buy Me a Coffee link, which will be in the show notes or even at the bottom of the screen. Usually is, if you're watching in video. You can follow the podcast on Twitter. That's at NewsRants2022. And don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast provider, whether that be Spotify, Apple or Google, or you could subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch us in vision. There's the recording. It's recorded in video from, well, it's actually my living room, but it's the best I can do right now, so I don't have a proper recording studio. Well, that'll come later on when News Rants kicks off a bit better. So, this was the bumper edition of News Rants. And, there'll be more News Rants to come very soon, I'm pretty sure. So, I'll catch you in the next exciting News Rants. Until the next one.